Welcome to another edition of Ask the Professor, where we answer your questions about history, about public policy, about political philosophy, about the arts. Apparently, I'm not supposed to do any more sports jokes along the lines
That's enough.
Did you hear the one about the Toronto Maple Leafs? They think they're a professional hockey team. Anything else is fair game, though.
Yeah, okay, stop it. Here's a question I love. Ask the professor what he thinks of people without pensions subsidizing the cost of pensions of those who have pensions.
It is outrageously unfair, and I think it's quite dangerous to Canada's social fabric. And it's a problem that we should have seen coming 25 years ago. In fact, I'm going to say flat out, some of us did, and I was among them. But we can't go back in time. So what we need to do is understand now what is happening and how we fix it in a way that doesn't prove very ugly and divisive. The fundamental problem is in the heady days of the 1960s and 1970s, we thought government could give us something for nothing. We threw away our copies of Frederick Bastiat's The Law, and we decided that government really was a cornucopia and it could just pour out plenty. And so government started making promises to people, both to the public at large and to its own employees. And it punted the costs down the road, and it got itself reelected. And here's the problem. Again, really what we ought to do is vote Pierre Trudeau out of office, but it's a bit late for that. So we need to deal with the fact that increasingly government social programs are promising people more than there is, and they're encouraging precisely the wrong behavior. Among the poor, they create dependency because it's so lucrative not to be firmly attached to the labor market in a low-paying job. And among the elderly and the soon-to-be elderly, it discourages saving because you're going to get this government pension, so you might as well spend the money on your lifestyle now. And Canadian savings rates have dropped drastically. And then, of course, there's the horrendous problem of the government, where almost 80% of people are unionized, as opposed to less than 20% in the private sector. And something along the lines of 80% of government workers have these so-called defined benefit pensions, where it doesn't matter what you put in, you're going to get a rich payout. Far too rich a payout. Every time the government sits down with its workers, again, it continues to make these lavish promises. It buys their support in election campaigns. It buys labor peace, and it sticks other people with the bill. And who are these people? Primarily, they're these people in the private sector who aren't unionized, aren't able to squeeze their employer for more than their work is worth, especially when it comes to perks, including generous pensions. Defined benefit pension plans are increasingly a thing of the past in the private sector, and rightly so, because they're unaffordable. Look what they did to the American car industry. So the fact of the matter is that far too few people are squeezing far too many people far too hard for benefits. I mean, it would be nice, sure, if I was Santa Claus, yes, I'd put a defined benefit pension in everybody's stocking, but it doesn't work like that. And if some people are getting more than they deserve, other people are necessarily getting less than they deserve.
Well,
and
but wait, some of those workers are saying, no, but I deserve that. Because it was in my contract, I signed on to this, and I put in all those years in the public service, which I didn't like all that much, in order to get that pension. So I'm entitled to it.
Yeah, and this is where the real danger arises, because the situation is unfair and unaffordable. But it is not nice to make promises to people, even promises you shouldn't have made to people who are grasping a little hard, and then just rip them up. Can you tell a person who's now retired and everything they've done in their life has been calculated around a certain level of retirement income that they're just not going to get it? Well, in one sense, yes, you can. Because if the system collapses, I mean, if we start to get interest rates rising to 5, 6, 7% and government interest costs go through the roof, they're not going to be able to manage these payouts. There's going to be a kind of crisis that forces a partial debt repudiation. You could also do it politically. You could simply vote not to do it. But then how much trust would be left in society? And that's why we need to find a soft landing, and we need to find it soon. We need to start taking away these kind of benefits for younger people in the public service, telling them it was a great deal while it lasted, unfair or fair, it was very lucrative, and yes, those people over there with the gray hair or the no hair are going to get it, and you're not. But we're telling you this now. You're 35, you're 40, you can start to make other plans. We can start to deunionize the public service so it becomes more productive and drains less wealth away from the private sector, meaning there'll be more tax money. There are all kinds of things we can do to have a soft landing, but to have a soft landing, we've got to realize we can't just stay in mid-air forever, buoyed up by currents of hot air coming out of politicians who left office 20 years ago. That would be foolishness, because if we don't have a soft landing, we're going to have a hard one, and it would be very painful, it would diminish trust in society, and it would be stupid. Because we know what's wrong. Let's do something about it.
Well, that was easy, was it?
Absolutely, another problem
easier,
solved.
Exactly. It's easier to talk about it and explain what the solution is, apparently, than to actually fix that problem. But I guess that will be for some other day. Folks, if you want to play along and ask your question, you have the URL at the bottom of your screen. It will give you all the information about how to do that. See you later.
Go, Leafs, go.